What sells franchises with Lisa Welko. This may be the ultimate video, Lisa. No, not really, but beginner's edition. We were having a great conversation. What sells franchises? If I could just frame it up a little, because I know everyone's going to want to hear what Lisa has to say. My biggest concern for new franchisors, emerging franchisors, is selling franchises to qualified franchisees. Recently, I was speaking at a conference for franchisors that were stuck. And in my presentation, one of the factors I identified as like a global factor that they're facing is there's a lack of clarity about their brand, lack of clarity about their unit economics, their validation, what the franchise is, how they transform lives, and also their discovery process. So if this is our beginner's edition of what sells franchises, let's open up the conversation.
All right. Well, thanks, Charles. I think one of the biggest things that I run into, especially with emerging brands that are kind of clamoring to get some attention from the brokers who are running, right, is not understanding exactly what they do. Right. So it sounds so simple, but I cannot pitch a brand I don't understand. So if you're a Me Too brand and you're, senior care, home care number 704 in the portfolio, or, some of these that it's, if you're a burger place and you sell burgers or that type of thing, it's different. But if you're coming in with something that's slightly different, slightly unique, I need to understand what it is. And I think sometimes that new franchisors are so close to it, they completely just miss the very basics of it. And then even the Me Too brands, well, differentiate yourself. How are you different? Why should I show you emerging home care brand with 20 units when I can show big giant Goliath with 100 units? And they're going to be able, it's going to show better. It's going to appear better. So I think that is my biggest thing, is really, really make sure that whoever is looking on your website and looking at your franchise understands what the value prop is and what the business is doing. What's the offering? Who's the customer? Who am I selling it to? So,
Lisa, that just, so I was speaking at the conference, and an emerging franchisor who was presenting at the conference asked me to look at their website. And we look at the homepage, and Lisa, honestly, I didn't know what the business was. So it turned out they're a retail business. I had no idea.
Okay.
Right. So they were focused. I guess they worked with a franchise development company who just didn't do a great job in advising them on the website. And the headline was something about the healthcare movement. And the subheadline was joining female entrepreneurs or joining entrepreneurs. And I'm like, I don't know what the business is. Is it a retail business? Are we telling a retail story? Because if it's retail, then you're going to tell a story about the box, unit economics, the product. And so I see it all the time. We all have that where you're in it, you're too close to it, and there's a lack of clarity, and brokers don't. The other thing, in terms of lack of clarity too, what I'm seeing with franchisors, emerging ones, maybe they provide 3 services and they're hitting the brokers with all 3, and they're not honing in on what's their sweet spot, and maybe these other things supplement.
Right. And I think, and especially when you're dealing with brokers, we're going to have a different lens than the consumer. So depending on how you're trying to sell franchises and who you're selling franchises to, then I think also that's going to change your message a little bit. But if you're trying to work through a broker group, you're going to have to get to it quick. And if 75% of your revenue is driven from one service, just talk about that one. It's okay. We know that you're growing. We know that those other services are going to come on board and kind of caboose and be, extra revenue once you get that person in the door. But what gets that person in the door is truly what's going to sell your franchise. It's not going to be the 2% add-on that you're doing in in whatever. Like, talk about what you're doing. You're right.
So Lisa, if I have a checklist, right? And then if I said, because I frequently, when we're speaking with our clients, unit economics, validation, transformation,
Yeah.
process, could
Yeah.
we go through each of those and get your insight on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unit economics is everything. So, and I don't care if you're trying to sell to your consumer or you're trying to sell face to face. I'm sorry, face to face with consumers, or if you're going through the broker network, you need to be able to talk about unit economics. And the first thing I will be the first one to say out loud and proud is that do not tell me you don't have an item 19 because you're too small and you only have corporate numbers, because someone gave you bad advice. And after you tell me that, I will ask who your franchise attorney is. I get to do that because I'm the old lady and I get to be listened to Lisa, and you're the one, you came to me for my advice. You called me, so I'm going to give it. And there's if you don't have a strong enough value proposition and strong enough corporate numbers that you can't shout those in your item 19, you have a bigger problem than not being able to sell franchises.
Well, and we were talking before with Brad and you guys even looking at franchises yourself and how you evaluate it. So for the emerging brands, when you're evaluating an opportunity with your clients and for yourself, like what's the formula in your mind as to how you're evaluating the unit economics?
Well, I'm looking at the investment and making sure it's realistic, right? So if some of those numbers are just too small to believe, chances are they got advice to say, okay, we're going to try to keep your investment this low. If that's not a realistic investment of what it's going to cost to get into business, that's the one unforgivable sin in business, right? Getting in undercapitalized. So if someone thinks they can get in for 150,000 or less, and it's actually going to cost them 200,000, say it's going to cost them 200,000. Don't be afraid to front load it. And what you're doing there, if you're working with someone who's even been looking at a couple of different brands, you're being transparent. You're saying this takes 6 months to stand up. It takes 6 months of down the jugular Google marketing. But once you're there, then you can go and you can ride this out. But it shows that you've thought about it. And I think the other thing too, even with the item 19s in there and the return, if it's a corporate location, we know it's a corporate location. They're saying that on the top, but give some detail, give some sort of, there's a wonderful brand out there. They have 3 corporate locations. All their franchisees have been in business not long enough. They've only been in business 9 months, not the full 12, whatever it takes. But those corporate locations are showing full P&Ls. And they're deducting the franchise fees and all of that type of thing from the bottom. But they're being very transparent in that, yes, these are corporate locations, and here's how they're making money, and here's where they're spending money. And so for that, our candidates are going to feel just a little more at ease with, they know they're looking at corporate numbers. They know they're looking at the best of the best. But they can do the math. They can say, what if I do half as well as that in my first year? What if I do a quarter of that in my first year? You're going to do 3 scenarios if you're doing a business plan. You're never going to try to only shoot for the moon, right? So I think it's just a matter of just say what it is. And if you can't say what it is, wait a year. Fix that and then come back to the table, because it's going to be such an uphill battle. And you're going to get franchisees in there that really probably shouldn't have been in.
Well, and that gets to the expectations, right? Which is, you're comparing item 7 estimated initial investment with income potential for item 19, and for the franchisors listening to this and for the franchisees, I think drawing from Lisa's points, and I think that a big opportunity that emerging franchisors, or a big mistake they're making, they don't know where their brand positions.
Right.
Income replacement, lifestyle brand, legacy building. They're confused about it, so they don't know how to present their brand, because maybe the answer is, hey, Lisa, we're a supplemental income business. We're a part-time income business. We're going to boost your lifestyle, And I think I only know this from speaking with Lisa so much, but I think that's the way to get Lisa's attention and franchise buyers. And you
Right.
may repel others, but be honest about what your capabilities are
Right,
as
and
a
be
brand.
honest about your time commitment, right? So if you have a general manager that, you know, also happens to be your best friend's sister and has all this loyalty and you're underpaying her because of blah 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 blah, okay, own that. So how am I, as your first, second, fifth franchisee, going to find that general manager? What am I going to pay them so I can keep my corporate position? But be honest with it. It's going to come out. And so it's better to have it out in front than something that they had to spend months and months and months just trying to figure out what am I trying to uncover here. Intrinsically, you're going to know something's off. And so it's just better. I get it out there because there's someone out there that's looking for exactly what you have. It's, but you have to get in front of them. So.
And that's the opportunity, Lisa. I think like you may not even care what industry I'm in or what product or service we sell, but you may care that, oh, I have a candidate that wants a lower startup investment, supplemental income, can do, and all of a sudden you're drawn to the brand because of what it can offer, not what we're doing.
Right, right. Part of brokering is two things. It's definitely dealing with candidates, listening to them, but it's also a lot of time. And I know I don't want this to become a broker facing, but it's also, you need to know the brands that are out there, not just the big splashy ones, but you need to know some of those little niche brands because it'll save you. It'll, you know what? I do have something there, painting Teslas. I had someone and I was like, guess what? There is a brand out there that does that. So it's just a matter of, you have to have some idea of what's going on over here with the brands, but it's going to happen. And I know it's hard to get broker attention. So if you want to know how to sell franchises, especially if you're going to try to sell them through brokers or consultants, you need to be able to tell us what you're doing, how much money is being made, what's it going to cost, what's your value prop, and you need to do it in 5 minutes.
And you need like let's have a reality check with because I worry about our clients, right? And they go into this franchise jungle and we're in a battle and we're going to win this battle and we're going to fight. But too many brands are navigating these jungles with I'm a gym or I'm a restaurant or I'm a home care and what, right? So, and what they fail to realize, which I'll bring up a little later when we talk about transformation, my advice to them is, okay, I'm working with a client, one of our clients, amazing group, and they're in a restaurant space, and they actually went and hired a very big development company. It wasn't recommended by me, and no. But when we were going through the process, the development company's asking me or criticizing me, you didn't follow our recommendations A, B, and C. And when we're speaking with the client as to why I don't recommend A, B, and C, they're completely open to the recommendations. They see the point. But why did the development company recommend A, B, and C? Well, because they're comparing it with 3 large national brands.
Right.
And I'm like, we're not that. We're just a startup franchisor. Let's own our space. Let's be asymmetrical. Let's do things differently. And so like I find that mindset can really bog down these emerging brands. And then they follow this formula, which, a 300 unit system, and then they go to all these franchise things and they're not gaining traction.
Right. And a lot of that is built-in fees and built-in, sometimes it's bumper bowling and sometimes it's huge walls put up to say, we're not going to allow all of this, this, and this with our franchisees. And I understand that, but you get to have that conversation once you have reached 30, 40, 50 locations. Yeah, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make some concessions along the way to get you there, but you cannot start out as with all of these huge parameters and all of this language in an FDD, because the people that are reading your FDD have not read the FDD for McDonald's. that you're not McDonald's and you're not of that caliber. And so you cannot say those things. And so I think you're right. That's definitely part of it. I get it. Your vision is to be that, but right now you have to live where you're at and stay in the lane that you're at. The beautiful thing, your FDD changes every year. This isn't the FDD that you're going to have in 5 years. In 5 years, when you have 50 franchisees, there's going to be changes to that FDD. That person that got in early, he is kind of the cowboy. He's kind of like, give me your operations manual. I'll be part of it. And that's truly what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. I will follow this to a T. I will not think independently. That person probably isn't great for an emerging brand because they're going to clash from the very, very beginning. That first person has to be a little bit malleable and want to be part of that process, part of building the brand and going through that. And that's going to be part of the story. But I think that you have to own the fact that this franchise at 10 units does not look exactly the same at 100 units. It just doesn't. I don't care who you're talking to, it's not going to.
And for everyone listening to Lisa's advice, just note what she said. Like, she used the word story, right? Which I think's another big missing link, Lisa, right? Which these emerging franchisors we're entering the space. We want to be asymmetrical. We don't have a ton of franchisee validation, so what? My question to our clients, or the issue I present to them as we go through their development process and even after, is let's say you do go to a broker conference and you have some great conversations, and that broker happens to the next week look at your website, dig a little deeper. What is the story there? And
Right.
and we're like, I'm a super advocate, I think, of telling our clients that they're their biggest asset, their story, how the business transformed their lives, like what it meant to them, why they did the business, what it was like. Was it a family issue that caused you to start the business, or was you just felt like there's something more in life? Tell that story, because that's the connection that's going to be made.
Right. And the hiccups. This is why we
Yes.
franchise, because I mean, I'm that story, right? I spent 6 figures figuring out that, this is not what I was expecting. I say everyone that listens to me, I would have been a much better franchisee than franchisor. I was young. I had all these hopes and dreams. And you don't know what you don't know. But looking back now, yeah, a lot more money, a lot less gray hair had I bought into a system, followed that system, and learned the ropes. So,
Right. And I think that's where people make the connections, right? It's not exactly, but they're like, okay, my life's sort of like that, or I have that concern, and they could connect with the founder. And that's where I think so many are missing. I'll look at some new franchisor websites, and I don't see anything about the founders. I don't see anything unique about their business. I
right.
hear bold claims about the industry.
Right.
And then what kills,
People, $4 million. I don't even like
yeah,
that when they're presenting to me. I'm kind of like, no kidding. Like the pet space is big. Everyone got
it's
happy during COVID. No kidding. Right.
right. It's growing. And I'm like, that's great. And I tell my clients, I'm like, so does that mean I could just go buy your competitor franchise? Like, what is this about?
Right.
And then the most depressing part for me, Lisa, is I get through all of this. I don't know who the founders are. I know the industry is growing, but I don't know why this particular franchise is going to help me grow faster, help me, or
Right.
and I get to the bottom, and I learned that I'm going to pay a royalty of blank percent. I can invest from 800,000 to $2 million. And here's the 7-step process to go from where I am today to signing a franchise agreement. And the 7th step is franchise agreement. But I don't see or know anything what happens after I sign the franchise agreement, what
Right.
happens with my life, and so many lost opportunities.
Right. Absolutely. No, it's funny. And I get it. It's stock photos and buzzwords and everyone's trying to get that attention. and you need that evidently. I don't know, SEO, whatever.
Lisa, look, I think the big opportunity is don't focus on the first 7 steps. Tell everyone what happens after they sign a franchise agreement,
Yep,
right? And that's where the big opportunity could be.
absolutely. And franchisors out there that are listening know what those are. So, and I think some of them don't understand. I'm signing a franchise agreement because I am expecting you to teach me how to own this business, not how to just open it, not how to get the lease signed. After 6 months, what are you doing for me? How are you bringing me confidence? Not just marketing to get people in. And good Lord, not, oh, we have training to show you how to market. We have training to show you how to launch an Indeed campaign to get labor. Good Lord, you're not competing right now if you're gonna train me how to do something that I could watch a YouTube channel to learn how to do. I'm not gonna buy your franchise.
I mean, I think that's probably going to be the most important advice shared on this whole video, which is if a franchisor could focus on that question, which is after 6 months, what are you doing for me? Like, because
Every
Lisa's telling you that's what she's
single
looking for.
day or week, what are you doing for me? I am scared to death. If you're an emerging brand, chances are you're not selling to someone that this is their fourth business and they know what to expect and that type of thing. You are selling probably to someone that's a little bit newer to business ownership. And do not forget, they are scared out of their mind. And so you saying, I am going to hold your hand. We are going to have a weekly one-on-one call where I'm going to listen and I will be there and we will get your questions answered. It's okay if you don't have 30 people on your corporate team. That's fine. But I want to know that I have access to you every single week. I'll be the one as the franchisee to say, okay, I think we can go to every other week, right? Because now I got this, and so let me get my feet under me. But it's so surprising and so sad when it's all about the sale and it's all about the startup, and then you talk to people in 6 months, and they're like, I haven't heard from them.
It's such a big opportunity because imagine every franchisor that when they approach you or they're engaged in organic sales, they're so focused. I had one client, they were advised to put a photo up of them signing a document on the website. I said, please take that off. They said, why? I said, because that may be your goal to have a franchisee sign a franchise agreement. That is not the franchisee's goal. Like, put a photo of you guys like enjoying life and running the business because that's what they're going to emulate. But like, talk about like a big undertapped opportunity, which is your advice of, if a franchisor is front facing with what we do for you in the first 6 months, and then you as a broker and the candidates are like, this franchisor is so focused not on me signing the agreement,
Right.
but showing what we're going to do.
Right.
That's what makes a brand unique and special, no matter being in the same industry.
Yeah.
Lisa, if we taking your list, what are you doing for me after 6 months checklist? You mentioned labor, right? Assisting with labor issues.
And I know that that's a big deal and joint employer, we can't hire for you. There are ways that you can help everyone feel better about the labor that they're going to need to have in order to run this business. Right now, that is the question I get every single day. Every single day. One of my candidates says, how do I find the laborers? It's a painting. I don't even care if it's subcontractors. The franchisor says, don't worry about labor, we use subcontractors. Okay, so take out the word labor and enter the word subcontractor. How are you going to help me find good subcontractors? You have to, and there has to be a realistic answer there, a step-by-step. Here's how, it could be an entire call on your operations. Here's how we're going to help you staff your business. Here's how we're going to help you fulfill the promise of service on your website. If it's launch a really good ad on Indeed, again, go back to the drawing board. I need a better answer.
Lisa, so with labor one, what's number two of like the I'm scared of, what's this going to be like 6 months from now?
Right. Who's my person? Who am I going to call? What is your team? What does your support team look like? And if it's just a couple people, it's okay. But who are those people? Who is your marketing team that I can call and say, everyone thinks that they have a very individual market. And I understand that. Everyone says, well, I can't do that in, this is a California brand. I'm not going to be able to do that in Appleton, Wisconsin. This is a Portland brand. I'm in Miami. Everyone in Miami has just a different lens. So I need to know, who on your team am I going to call to tweak the marketing for my market? Like, I need to know those very specifics, because it's not about the bigger picture and the national brand. Right now, it's about Lisa Welko in Appleton, Wisconsin, running my business that I invested my life savings on. What are you going to do to help me right here in my area? And so franchisors need to get that across. I want to know that you are going to help me. If it's an emerging brand, you're not franchisee number 1272 of Dunkin' Donuts, right? Those guys, yeah, it's figured out. Here's your person. But when it's, I'm trusting in you, I need to know I can trust you to help me once I hit a hurdle. I'm always going to hit a stumbling block. Nothing is perfect. So when it's not perfect, I want to know who to call and what the expectation is. If it's a 24-hour turnaround that someone's going to get back to me, great. If we have 24/7 tech support through a third party, that's an answer. But you need to know those answers, because nothing is smooth. Everything is going to be, and it could be, I forgot my passcode. How do I get into my computer? My manager is sick. What do I do? You don't know what the questions are going to be, but you need to know who is going to support me, who is going to get me past something that to me is going to be insurmountable. And probably to the franchisor, they're going to say, oh yeah, that happened to us 3 years ago. Here's what we had to do.
And addressing this before the franchisee asks. So many times I'll hear a franchisor or young team talk about, oh, this candidate was very close, ready to sign, but this came up in their life, or but there's an excuse. And I said, that all may be true,
Right.
but it could also be that there was a lack of clarity in your process and they don't know why they stepped away or slowed down, but something didn't feel 100%. And what you're sharing, Lisa, about, what happens after that first 6 months, and, have forward facing conversations beforehand as part of your process about even counter narratives, how we help you with labor issues, how we support you in a real way, not we support you, but what is a week left, right? I mean,
I said that at a conference once. Someone was saying, oh, who's my avatar franchisee? And I said, if anyone else tells me it's someone that's a people person that knows how to sell, I think I swore. I was like, I'll say no kidding on the podcast, but let's get nitty gritty here. And I think that will get that person and keep them in process. Hey, the next call, we're going to talk about unit economics and the headaches to expect. There's a headache in every business. What's the one in this one, and how do we overcome it? And it's just we're making so much money and we don't know how to spend it all, right? So
no, Lisa, but that's like a game changer. It's right in everyone's face, but no one's recognizing it. So when everyone's saying, like, I don't know what's unique about my business, well, number one, it's you and your story and how it connects with the franchise candidates. But two is, take these counter narratives, address them, not only from a marketing perspective, but be on a mission to solve the labor issue, to build a better tech stack, and to really scale that coaching model weekly, and that's where the opportunity is.
Right. And you will have loyal franchisees in that first corral of franchisees that would stand on that, they would die for you, right? When you provide that kind of support and you provide that kind of honesty and transparency and you are there when they need you, those are the ones that they're going to put up with your little hiccups. They're going to put up with, hey guys, we need to change this in the brand because this is what we're seeing and we need to tighten this up. You have built that relationship. They're going to say, okay, we're with you. We got this and it's okay because you helped us then. When I was a franchisor, one of our franchisees had premature twins, right? And we weren't expecting it. I mean, we were obviously expecting it, but very premature. We hopped in the car and went up and ran her gym. Because what else can you do? Like,
Right.
that's what you do. We need to keep her in business, keep her members happy, and we'll figure this out. And it, you do what you got to do.
Which
Um,
which impacts so much. Lisa, what I'm loving about this is for the franchisors listening to this, imagine a different conversation with Lisa when you bump into her at a conference, right? Where you're very clear with your brand positioning. This is what we do. Here's who we're really good for, supplemental income replacement. And here's how we help them get it done. Here's what it's going to look like after the first 6 months. And you're not going to say it that way, but it's, Lisa, here's our tech stack. Here's our support with payroll, labor. Here's the big issue in the industry. Here's how we solve it.
right.
Versus just these general conversations, which I'll say are not just general with Lisa, but also on your website and everything else. And then when Lisa does look at the website and does share it with the candidate, where's the deeper dive with forgetting what it takes to sign, but what the first 6 months looks like and what we're focused on. And here's what our big headache's going to be, and here's how we solve it.
And remember, that's the conversation. I mean, if you are working with brokers, that's the conversation that I'm having with those people that are open to emerging brands and open to smaller brands is here's why I'm showing this to you. I mean, there's a great emerging brand out there right now, and I'm saying it's not about the widget. Like the widget is great, it's recession proof, Amazon proof, like all the stuff we want it to be. But the wizard behind the curtain or the wizards behind the curtain here, they're people you want to know. They're people I've known. I trust them, and they're not going to let you fail. They'll be the ones to hop in the car and fly to your location to make sure that you're still in business when you hit a hiccup. Like that conversation will get someone that I'm talking with to say, I know there's not a lot of franchisees in this, but guess what? You're sitting in the middle of Dallas. So you don't get to look. You have removed yourself from the fact that you're not going to look at emerging brands. When you're sitting in a metro market like that, that's just exploding. But here's why this one, I feel peace showing it to you because I know they're going to take care of you. And so that's truly a conversation that happens a lot, especially when you're sitting in the Dallas, Orlando, Charlotte, all the places that are going to go first.
Right.
My candidate call is, okay, I just want to get ahead of the fact that Orange Theory sold out. So we're going to have to look at some of the other guys. So
Lisa, what's the impact? Because I may be overestimating it or others may be underestimating it. What's the impact on a franchisee candidate in terms of what they can discern and see from a franchisor in terms of their culture, their mission, and their founder story? Like, how does that come into play during the sales process?
it comes into play big time. And truly, the smaller you are, the more it comes into play, right? Because they're walking shoulder to shoulder with you. So these new guys, like it's a different story beyond 20, 30, 40, I think. Like these first 10 to 20, they are shoulder to shoulder. You're not going to do business with someone you don't like. You're not going to do business with someone you don't trust. It's full stop. So
Yeah, and I think that's critical. One of our clients, I'd asked to see the video they send out before a call, the first call is scheduled, and
Mhm.
they're a startup franchisor, great model, great founder, inspiring founder, great guy. And it was a long video, but it wasn't by him. Wasn't by him. It was by one of his team members. And I said, why wouldn't it be you that that you're the reason why I'm going to buy the franchise? I
Right.
said in like a 5 minute video, because well, the consultant said the CEO should never do that initial video. I'm like, yeah, but not when we've only
No,
had
the
one
consultant's
franchise.
wrong. The consultant's wrong. You can say it, Charles. You can call me.
Well, Lisa,
Your
I
franchise
mean, no, I think the big takeaway is every brand here does have a unique story in terms of the founder and the mission, but also focusing on what Lisa's advice is, which is what's that first 6 months like? And then for franchisors listening, we're going to put a link to Lisa's YouTube channel, but also Lisa has franchise speed dating, which is, a great process. And I would reach out to Lisa about getting involved with franchise speed dating for sure.
It's nice. We're getting a lot of good traction on it. I think it's great for people, for franchisors, for one thing. It's a great lesson in exactly what we just talked about in 5 minutes or less, right? And I tell everyone, don't go get a marketing team. I don't like,
Right.
don't do all that. Just it's, you can show pictures of the equipment, you can show pictures of the product, someone, talking head in the corner, what is our brand? And so for my candidates that are watching, they get a feel for what they're going to be looking at. And it doesn't have to be proprietary to franchise speed dating. Put that on the broker portals, put that on your website. What's your 5 minutes? Like, what's your brand? How are we going to help you be a successful franchisee? Who your customers is, and let's just get the word out. I mean, I think that that's the best thing about franchise speed dating is that at least it gets the word out and it makes you sit and focus as a franchisor. Okay, can I get this done in 5 minutes or less? I think it's almost a lesson. If you can't, like, figure it out. Figure it out.
Lisa, I think that's the biggest. Everyone goes and focuses on the big shiny stuff and going to shows and conferences, but like build your base. That's why I do love what you're doing with franchise speed dating. And 5 minutes is not so easy. So you have to be candid and honest with yourself, which is, and you're going to get honest feedback also, but like, let's be very genuine. We need to own this. And if we can't own it, then we need to innovate a little at our organization. So I think franchise speed dating is a great resource, Lisa. So we'll put the links for that. This was our beginner course, and then we'll get to more advanced stuff. Lisa, I appreciate everything.
Thanks, Charles. I love getting on and having a little rant with you.